Today on Brilliance Business TV, we have the incredible Lisa L. Baker. Lisa is the founder of Ascentim, an award-winning leadership development firm that helps high-achieving professionals lead boldly and live fully. Stay tuned. Welcome to Brilliance Business TV, Conversations with Leading Experts in Business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have an incredible guest on the show today, Lisa L. Baker. I'm really looking forward to a conversation. And we're streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. We're also on the E360 TV network, Business Innovators Radio Network, and MSPnewsglobal.com. Let's bring in our incredible guest, Lisa L. Baker. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Mark. I'm so excited for this conversation today.
I'm really looking forward to a conversation with you, Lisa. Let's get started with the show. You were a senior executive at the height of your career. By every measure, you had made it. What made you walk away without a plan? Very brave.
Yeah, it's brave or crazy, depending on how you think about it. But I'm sure your listeners were a lot like me, where they have worked hard to get where they are and they've achieved a degree of success and influence. But for some reason, that success doesn't feel as meaningful as they thought it would. And that was my story. I had the title, I was a senior executive in a Fortune 500 organization. I was doing very well, and I was at the height of my career. But I was exhausted in a way that, frankly, didn't necessarily have to do with the work. I was tired of the pressure to perform and trying to balance the expectations that the organization had for leaders at my level with my own desires to grow and lead. And so success and trying to fit into someone else's model of success, frankly, was wearing me out. And so I gradually started to notice this tug to do something different.
I like those words, following your desires. Very, very good words. You now work with leaders who are in that same place you were. What does that actually look like, Lisa? And why is it so hard to see from the outside?
Yeah, you know what? It's hard to see from the outside because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And so often what happens is that we're going through the motions, we're doing all the things that are required of us to lead at those high levels, and then start to notice that it's not working anymore. So they're not struggling because of their performance. They are high performers, very successful people. Where the struggle comes in is that it's this internal struggle, right? That says, I have success. Everything looks great on paper. So why doesn't it feel good? Why don't I have that internal fulfillment that I thought I would have? That gap is between what it looks like on paper and what they actually experience. And the way to close that gap is to stop doing the performing of the work and really start asking about what matters to me.
I love that. And it's about having the courage as well, isn't it, Lisa? It takes a little bit of courage when you are making different changes. So sometimes that's why it's great to have a coach, isn't it, Lisa?
Absolutely. It takes a lot of courage, I would say. And it also takes clarity. And coaching is great for that because coaching can help you to get clear about who you are, what you value, what you want, and even clear about what's causing the tension and the pressure that you're feeling. Coaching really helps you to move from where you are to where you really want to be as quickly as possible.
You call it the area of greatness. What is that? And why does it matter more than the strengths assessments these leaders have already taken?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. Most of the leaders that I worked with, because they have been leading for quite a while, they've likely already taken Strength Finders, DISC, Myers-Briggs, all of those assessments. So they are actually pretty clear often about what their strengths are. And yet, even knowing their strengths, they still aren't feeling like that's enough. Your area of greatness is where your strengths, the things that you're good at doing, your passions, the things that you enjoy doing, and your purpose, your why for doing what you do, all converge. And so when you can do work that plays to your strengths, that you enjoy doing it, and it fulfills that meaning piece for you, gives you that purpose, that's truly the sweet spot. And that's the transformational shift that I help leaders to make.
I love it. Having those transformations. You work with organizations too, and you use a framework called Think, Connect, Lead, Act. That's Think, Connect, Lead, Act. What does that look like when you're actually in the room with a leadership team?
Yeah, it looks like helping leaders to understand what it takes to develop themselves personally as leaders, but also to have that translate to the team. Often what happens is we think we're being clear. We're making assumptions about how well aligned our teams are. And so we always start with thinking. That is helping the leader to understand what their beliefs are, the assumptions that they may be making, and how that's impacting their team. The goal is to close the gap between what you say and what you actually do, and then how people receive that. Once that is clear, then they can start to connect. Connection and building trust with teams is so essential to success. And so in the room, I'm taking my client, their team's real world examples and experience that come from the customization that I do for every organization that I work with. So it's not just about teaching theory or more frameworks and strategy. It is about getting really practical and changing the behavior. So I'm really proud to report, Mark, that at the end of every leadership development experience I do with the team, I ask them one question, and that is, how likely are you to change your behavior? How likely are you to change the way you think, the way you connect, the way you act or lead based on this experience? And I'm proud to report that on a scale of 1 to 5, my average score for that question is 4.9. And it's because I'm getting the leaders in the room to commit to specific changes they will make. And then I follow up with them 30 to 45 days later to help hold them accountable.
And actually, that's a good way to end that question, because I was just thinking about the timing of this, because I've gone through transformations with self concept in my identity and things like that. And I know when you're working on like your self concept identity, which is very similar to in business, it could be in relationships or work, money, health. I know it normally takes, some people say 21 days, but I go on the longer 66 days to 90 days to really lock in that new identity. So what kind of length of time are we talking for these transformations?
Yeah, you are spot on, Mark. These things don't happen overnight. The change in a leader, absolutely, I think you're correct. That 45 to 90 day time frame is the sweet spot. If we're talking about changing the culture in the organization, that takes much longer. But we start with the leader. We change one leader, one team, then one organization at a time. And so that's why I have that 45-day checkpoint after the event, because that's a good amount of time for them to take action on the commitments that they made, knowing that I'm going to check in and follow up and we're going to see where they are. Then we can make new commitments for the next 45 days or how they'll adjust. So then we really see that personal change that then allows the team to change.
And I would actually say that's very correct too, that there are big shifts after the 90 days, but then the next 90 days after that, that's where it really integrates and really big changes happen over those next 90 days as well. And I think people knowing that, at least it gives them milestones as well, rather than thinking, oh, this is going to happen overnight. You know that there is a process to it. It's going to take a little bit of time. For someone listening, Lisa, right now, whether they're a leader who recognise themselves in this conversation or an HR leader tired of programs that don't stick, what do you want them to walk away with?
Yeah, I think the first thing I want them to know is that they're not alone. The challenges that they're facing, whether it's with their own transformation, whether it's getting their teams to connect and align, is common in leadership, and so they don't have to suffer in silence. They can. And they don't have to stick with a path that's no longer working. Having the courage to try something new, to make that personal change or to ask the team to change is important. And they can work with someone like me or a coach or leadership development to help them in that process so that they don't have to carry that weight of making that shift alone. And they don't have to have it all figured out at the beginning. That's where coaching is a great catalyst for that. And so getting clarity, working with a coach to help guide you and your team is the work that I love to do. And so, yeah, reach out to someone and get the support that you need to grow yourself, your team, and ultimately the organization's culture.
Now I know you're the perfect person to support people who need this kind of support, Lisa. So I would say, who right now are you talking to? Who's that one person that you would love to reach out, connect, even if it's just for a mini consultation to see if you're a great fit? Who is that one perfect person, and how can you support them, Lisa?
Oh, thank you for asking that. That one perfect person is that leader who has been, working in their career or their organization for, 7 to 10 years. And they have, again, achieved a high degree of success. And yet they're feeling that angst internally that says, they're asking this question, is this all there is? Surely there's more to it than this. Or they've been leading a team and the team may be struggling to align around goals. They're finding that they have to repeat themselves often. And it's like the teams know what to do, but actually delivering on it isn't happening in the way that it needs to or at the pace that it needs to. That's a great person to reach out to me to help them and their team develop. They can schedule a complimentary strategy session where we can talk for 30 minutes and I'll ask some key questions to help understand what their challenges are and help them in that 30 minutes to come up with some very practical steps that whether they choose to work with me or not, they can walk away having a strategy that they can go and execute and see what shifts for them. And certainly if they choose to work with me, then we can work together on them, their team, the organization over time to bring about that transformation that they desire.
And what is the best way for people to connect with you, Lisa?
The best way to connect with me, if you want to schedule that strategy session, is to visit my website, ascentim.com/connect. There, you'll be able to schedule that complimentary strategy session that I just talked about. I love making new contacts, so that's a way to connect. And sure, you can also follow me. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, all of those places you can find me. I am Lisa L. Baker on social media.
And just to finish the show, Lisa, what one challenge would you say people are struggling with out there that you can really support them with?
Oh my gosh. I think the biggest challenge that I hear that is so common amongst the leaders and the teams that I'm supporting with now is just how do you keep up with the pace of change that's happening in their organizations, in the business world? There's so much that's rapidly changing. Things are more volatile, uncertain, and complex than they've ever been before. And so leaders are having to adopt a new style of leadership to keep up with all of the things that are happening. Many of of the leaders that I talk to feel like they're failing on all fronts because they can't keep up with what's happening in their personal lives and what's happening at work. And they need help in sorting that out to get really clear on where to focus their time and energy so that they have the impact that they desire.
I would encourage everyone connect with Lisa at ascentim.com. That's ascentim.com. Lisa, I thoroughly enjoyed having a conversation with you today. Thank you so much for being my guest.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
The pleasure's been all ours. Thank you everyone for joining us for Brilliance Business TV, conversations with leading experts in business. Until next time, bye for now.